Hello and welcome back. My name is Dr. Donald Sorah. I'm Associate Professor of Music at the University of Virginia's College at Wise, and I'm pleased to be here to share with you some tips in preparing your prepared etude for the 2022 All Virginia audition. So, if you missed the first session, we did talk about, in the first session, practice tips, a few text tips, and a slow playthrough. So if you want to hear what the piece sounds like slowly, go back and take a look at that video. Today's session, number 2, we'll go through the A section, the first 10 measures or so of the piece, and in detail. And then next section, we'll look at A prime, which is the last part of the piece, because this is an ABA form, so why not build up on what we learned today to work on the last section of the piece, and then we'll come back to the what's in the middle, which is completely different. And then on the last session, we'll put everything back together. We'll look at more articulation, dynamics, and musicality, things we should look at inherently as we go, but we'll really focus on those in session 5. So what are we going to look at first? Let's take a look at meter and rhythm. Some of you may be fairly new to playing or counting in compound meter. That's meters in which the beat is divided into 3, so 3/8, 6/8, and 9/8. In this case, we have a little bit of each, I do believe. So let's take a look at some rhythms here, and let's help you prepare how to count these rhythms. So we have 2 systems of counting the rhythms here. My preference is the first system here, counting with every eighth note being each beat, because there are 9 eighth notes in the measure. The second system below, we'll talk about something different. So in this case, we would just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 3 primary beats, and those are 1, 4, and 7, and each beat is divided into 3. Can you do that again with me? Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Excellent. If we look at the next measure, we're not going to say those small numbers because they're combined into the first. So we're going to sustain the quarter note for 2 eighth note value. So we have this. 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. And if we went on, it would be 1, right? Can you try it with me? Ready? Go. 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. Notice I kind of slur 7 together, the 2 syllables, to make it sound like one beat. Moving on to the next measure, something a little bit more complex. We get some 16th notes in here. These 16th notes will be counted as if they were eighth notes in 4/4 or 2/4 with ands. So this will sound something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and remember 7 is just 2 syllables, so we try to slur it together. Try it with me. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and. Good. And the next measure, take a look. If we have the dotted eighth note, that's going to feel like a dotted quarter note. If you really slow this down, and you might need to do that, it's going to feel like a dotted quarter note would in 3/4 or 4/4 or 2/4, right? So in this case, we have 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 6, 7, 8, and 9, and I said the 8, but we're going to leave that out. Try it again. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 6, 7, and 9, and. That's it. And then the last beat, the last measure, is just going to be 1. That's 1 full beat, right? So that's system A, let's call it that, the way I like to count. Another system that people commonly use is the la-li method, in which our numbers designate our large beats. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, because really there are only 3 beats in a measure of 9/8, but it's subdivided within 3 each, so a total of 9 eighth notes. So let's do measure 1 together again. Ready? Go. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly. I'm not quite as familiar with this system, so I might make some errors as we go through. Let's do the next measure. And remember, if they're 1 lolly, the first one is 1 and la combined together, so we're just going to have 1 li, 2 li, 3 li. Try it again. And 1 li, 2 li, 3 li. So think the la in your head as you go along. Moving on to the next measure, measure 3, things get a little more complicated. And now our syllables are, if I don't get tongue-tied, 1 ta li ta, 1 ta la ta li ta. So you say it with me. One ta la ta lita. So let's slow this one down so that I don't mess it up and so that you get a good start. So we go one la li, two ta la ta lita, three la ta lita. Try that again. One la li, two ta la ta lita, three la ta lita. Okay. If you need to, rewind, try that again. And if you practice all these rhythms, you should be in good shape for the piece because that's where I pulled these from. They're not just random rhythms. Look at measure 4. Take a look at it for a moment. Pause if you need to see if you can count this before I do it. Or let's try it together. One ta la ta li, two ta li, three ta li ta one. That's going into the next measure. Try that again. Ready? Go. One ta la ta li, two ta li, three ta li ta one. Okay? So, and that's counting in compound meter. We should be good. So I recommend that you practice using a metronome. Total energy metronome is one of my favorites. If I pull it up here on the app. And we can set that metronome within this one. We can set it to 3/8. And I would recommend that because these measures are multiples of 3/8. So you don't have to change it as you go. You could leave it at 3/8. Starting out, I think on my recording, I started out at 72 as my tempo. And now we have, of course, the sound's not playing right now. I don't have it set up to do so. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it will subdivide each of those beats. All right. So that's a recommendation. If your metronome won't subdivide, find one, but otherwise you could just set it on very fast tempo. 1, 2, 3, da, 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 a pretty quick tempo, and that will work for you. Okay. Also, let's talk about the coconut rhythm. So take a look here. My mouse just froze. So we're looking at this measure, 4 and 6, right? Or in the other system, 2 ta li. If you'll think of the word coconut for that, it fits perfectly. Coconut, 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 coconut. So as you practice through the piece and you get to that rhythm, such as we find, here it is at 25. Coconut ba, coconut ba, or coconut pie, you could say that, right? And that would work for you. So that's a little bit about counting the rhythm. So as you count the rhythms, as you go through, remember we're focusing on the A section. We would go through and count through all of that, and it's really not that bad. Count through all of that all the way up until the B section, which I have starting at measure pick up to 11. All right, so that's your objective for the first video, is to be able to do that. Also, as you go through, there are some dynamics, bonus points if you can add those into your counting, and the articulations, particularly the accent. There's only really one of those that's happening right here. So if you'll bring out that accent as you count, that'd be fantastic. So if we sing through the rhythm, let's ignore the counts. Let's say the counts confuse you, and that's totally understandable. Let's try just the counts or the singing through it together. 1, 2, 3. Ta 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 ra ta ta ra ta ta ra ta ta ra ta ra ta ra ta ra ta ra ta ra ta ta ra ti ra ta. And that's counting through the first section. I recommend rewind. Do that with me. Play the same rhythm on one note on your instrument, for example. It's a great exercise to make sure you have the rhythm down pat. Okay, so that's enough talk about the rhythm. Let's move on and discuss the key and the pitch of the piece, at least in this section. So in the first section here, we are looking at the key of, yes, B flat, the key of B flat. pull up my slides here. So looking at the key of B flat / G minor, we have a portion that goes into G minor. So when you see those F sharps fitting in, it moves into G minor momentarily. So follow the melodic contour. You may sing through it with your hand. I recommend, it's not silly, to follow the contour, the shape, and get your hand moving. Bum bum beam 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 ba-dum bee, to follow that shape of the contour, so that way you can know what you're going to expect when you play through it. The next step is to slur through the pitches. Don't worry about the rhythm at all. We practiced the rhythm earlier, we'll put it back together later. So slur through those pitches and think about the intervallic relationships. If you've studied intervals, fantastic. If you haven't, just know that, larger leaps look further apart. And let's see how that works. Here's for example. Just to make sure that you get every note correct. And it's important to be very meticulous as you play through there. Quality control, because what you don't want to do is be in a rush and learn it the wrong way the first time. Because then you have to undo those habits and bring it back. Okay, so let's go through that one more time with you looking at the score. Looking at the A section. Just the intervals. So what do I ask you to slur through everything? Because if we can get the air moving and we can get each of those intervals with the slurs, then adding the tongue back in is just really going to solidify and keep everything in check. Okay? And that covers the A section. So take your time, work slowly, follow these steps. It may take a little bit longer than some of your friends, but if you follow these steps, take your time and actually learn through the process instead of just trying to cram and learn the etude for the audition. It's going to benefit you. You'll have a better audition, and also you're going to retain this material as you move forward and you continue to grow. So thank you again for hanging in there today. Look for another video coming up soon with the A prime section, the third part of the piece, and then back to the B section, and then wrapping it up finally with the last section. If you haven't already, please like my channel here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ding that bell. I'm really new to this YouTube stuff. Ding the bell so that the next time I post a video to help you guys out, you'll be one of the first to know that, and you can hop on and learn through the process. If you have any questions, feel free to reach me at the email address dws4w@uvays.edu. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.